For a video game genre that usually has 2 active characters on screen, fighting games are a complex mess of precise timing, deep strategy, and a plethora of moves that require attention to detail on every interaction. It's impossible to get every decision right every time, no matter what rank you are. You'll still see panic situations in esports where chaos ensues because both players made the wrong decision. And with all these interactions comes even more confusing terminology. Terms like meaties, footsies, links, it all sounds like gibberish, but it's gibberish you need to know. For instance, footsies refers to a concept that involves understanding the spacing between characters, usually during the neutral phase of combat. You want to make sure you control that space using pokes and whiff punishing when possible. A meaty is an attack that hits the opponent on the first frame possible after a knockdown, forcing the opponent to block or do an invincible move. And links are a sequence of moves that are comboed without cancelling one into the other. You have to be frame perfect when executing them. It's hard to pull off, but when you do it, it leads to a lot more damage. But there's one term in particular that I think is deceptively easy to understand, and that is the simple act of waking up. So what exactly does wake up mean in the context of fighting games? Because nobody is actually waking up unless you get knocked out, like in boxing, I guess. But that doesn't really happen in traditional fighters. Wake up is more so the act of rising from the ground after you've been knocked down. In order to do this, you just press nothing. In most games, characters get up on their own. However, sometimes you can change how fast you get up. For example, in Street Fighter V, you can quick rise by pressing down or 2 punch buttons, and you can back roll by pressing back or 2 kick buttons. They ended up making quick rise the default in Street Fighter VI, and the only other option is back rolling. Quick rising is useful for making sure your opponent doesn't have that much time to set up, and you can sometimes interrupt with a quick jab if you know the frame data. Back rolling, on the other hand, is a lot safer because you roll away from your opponent, which gives them less options. But this doesn't apply to hard knockdowns. If you get hit with something like a dragon punch or a throw, you'll get up normally, which gives your opponent better Okizeme. Okizeme, or Oki for short, refers to pressuring the opponent while they're waking up. For example, a character with good Oki would have a lot of options to mix up their opponent as they wake up, making it harder for them to choose the right option. Another example of good Oki in a different way is having the ability to shut down multiple wake-up options with one move, making it way more likely for you to win that interaction. There's nothing more annoying than a character with good Oki constantly knocking you down and making you guess for your life. Although being knocked down puts you at a disadvantage, you still have some options to choose from. Blocking immediately is probably the one you should go for, but you can also throw, which will tech if they try to throw you as well. You can jump if they try to command grab, and there's always the good old invincible reversal. It beats everything, except for blocking, of course. It looks cool when it hits though, but whatever you choose, there's no correct answer. It all depends on your opponent's tendencies, and that's the beauty of it. If you know your opponent will always try to set up for a meaty, you can just DP every time. And it goes both ways. If you know their wake up tendencies, you can put them in frame traps and throw loops. You'll even see pros sacrifice damage and cut the combo short in favor of better Oki and positioning, especially in offensive heavy fighting games where having that pressure is more valuable than getting a combo that doesn't kill. So far, all of the interactions I've mentioned happens as the opponent is getting up. But what about when they're on the floor? Well, there's a move that lets you do just that. OTG, an acronym for off the ground, is a term used in fighting games to describe a move that interacts with an opponent who has been knocked down and resets them back into a neutral state. OTG attacks are some of my favorites just because of how disrespectful they can be. You'll mostly see them used in 2 ways. The first way is as an extension. In Marvel vs. Capcom 3, OTGs can be used as many times as the combo allows, as they are only limited by hit stun scaling. You'll often see people use them to get some extra damage right before a super, but you can also use it to force resets and get more damage. The second way OTGs are commonly used is for combo enders. In Guilty Gear Strive, OTG mechanics work by allowing a player to strike an opponent right after they've been knocked down. But unlike Marvel vs. Capcom where you can use it as many times as you want, the game introduces certain limitations to this mechanic by giving the move a slight blowback, making it hard to continue a combo afterwards, though it's mainly used to tack on a bit of extra damage. But if you know what you're doing, you can extend it into a combo. One of my favorite OTG moves that I've shared before is Terumi's Stomp. He repeatedly steps on you and kicks you away afterwards. It's so disrespectful. And if you're feeling extra mean, you can talk cancel into it, make your opponent feel even worse. Another good one is Abigail's, where he repeatedly smashes you into the ground for an uncomfortable amount of time. And of course I can't end this video without mentioning Tekken, the game where all traditional fighting game values go out the window. So of course this applies to wake ups as well. For starters, when you get knocked down, you don't automatically stand up. You can just lay there as long as you want. On top of that, there are 4 different positions you can fall in, all with slightly different wake up options. Face up, feet towards gives you the best wake up options, whereas something like face down, feet away makes you a lot slower and gives your opponent better oki. The 2 main non-attacking wake up options are tech rolling and quick recovery. Quick recovery is self-explanatory, but it can only be performed face up, feet towards the opponent. Tech rolls on the other hand come in 2 different forms, side rolling, which can go in either direction, and back rolling. And when you're side rolling, you don't necessarily have to get up too. You can just keep going in circles. And there's so much more that your opponent can do while you're on the ground, especially when it comes to grapplers. If you thought they were scary in other fighting games, they are a whole different world in Tekken. There's a legitimate ground game that you have to worry about. It's not just simple command grabs you can jump out of. Some of them have multiple breakpoints where you need to know the corresponding button to get out. Most of the time you'll be able to tell by which arm extends first, but there are some exceptions for certain grabs. I feel like playing a grappler in Tekken is a lot more rewarding because you're not spamming the same command grab over and over again. Like, you have multiple mix-up options to choose from, especially with all the different positions your opponent can fall in, and the numbers back it up. King has the most moves out of everyone in the entire game. If you look at him compared to the last one on the list, the difference is enormous. Is it even possible to remember all of those moves? I feel like you can be a Tekken player for years and still see something new. But the amount of knowledge checks in this game is crazy. For most fighting games, once you learn one, it's kind of easy to pick up others, but with Tekken you're starting from scratch all over again. There's not much carryover, you just have to learn everything. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for people who can play Tekken and other fighting games. But honestly, Tekken's wake up game could have its own video. There's just so much information. Perhaps a second channel video. It's always fascinating to see how deep certain mechanics go, even if they seem simple at first. But that's what I like about fighting games. You can spend hours rambling about the smallest concepts that no one cares about and make a whole YouTube channel about it. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for the support on the last one. It did a lot better than I expected. I know the schedule hasn't really been that consistent, but if you guys want updates, I'm always on Discord and Twitter. Those 2 are usually the ones I give updates on, and I'm always hanging out on Discord. You know, the one that I called dead the last video? I mean, it's still kind of dead. But yeah, hopefully you guys check out the second channel where I'll do variety stuff, and I occasionally stream on Twitch. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.